Daniel Cade drops to one knee before the grave like a man struck from behind. The flowers slip from his hand and scatter across the damp grass. White petals bruise against the soil. His breath stutters once, then breaks completely. For a long moment he doesn't move, just kneels there, shoulders tense, head bowed, as if waiting for permission to fall apart. The headstone is simple, too simple for a man like him. Alara Moore, beloved wife, gone for 6 years. Daniel presses his palms to his face. The sound that escapes him is raw and uncontrolled, the kind no one has ever heard from his mouth. Not his men, not his enemies, not the board members who fear him more than prison. This is the man who ended wars with a phone call. This is the man who never begged. And yet, here he is crying into the ground. A few meters away, partially hidden by a cedar tree, Alara watches him. She hasn't changed her position since he arrived. Her body is rigid, her arms locked tightly across her chest, nails biting into fabric as if pain is the only thing keeping her upright. Her breath is shallow, measured, controlled. She learned control the hard way. Alara keeps her face turned slightly away, just enough that if he looks up, if he somehow senses her, she can disappear behind the trunk before instinct betrays her. But he doesn't look up. Daniel is lost in the lie she helped create. She watches him reach out, his fingers hovering inches above the stone, never touching it, as if even the grave might reject him. "I'm sorry," he whispers. The words cut deeper than any scream. Alara's knees almost give out. She remembers the last time she heard his voice like that. 6 years ago, the night she chose to die. A crow cries somewhere in the distance. Alara flinches. Every sound feels too loud in the open space of the cemetery. She hadn't planned on him coming today. She hadn't planned on being this close. She had come early, always early. She comes every month. Stands at a distance. Makes sure the stone is clean. Makes sure no one has disturbed it. She tells herself it's for closure. It never is. Daniel drags a hand down his face. Angry now. Grief sharpening into something more dangerous. "I should have listened," he mutters. "I should have known." Alara swallows hard. "If you knew," she thinks, "you would hate me." Daniel reaches for the flowers again, gathering them carefully this time. His hands tremble. He sets the bouquet gently against the stone, adjusting it until it's straight. "I ended it," he says quietly. "Everything they wanted. It didn't bring you back." Alara's heart slams against her ribs. They wanted her gone. That part was true. She shifts her weight unconsciously, the gravel beneath her shoe crunching softly. Daniel freezes. His head lifts slightly, not enough to see her, but enough that Alara's pulse spikes violently. For one terrifying second, she thinks he's sensed her. She presses her back harder into the tree, breath locked in her throat. Daniel scans the space ahead of him, eyes sharp despite the tears. Years of survival don't disappear just because grief demands its turn. After a moment, he exhales and shakes his head. "I'm losing it," he mutters to himself. He lowers his gaze again. Alara doesn't breathe until he does. This is why she stayed away from him. Why she changed her name. Why she erased herself from every record that mattered. Because even broken, Daniel Cade is dangerous. She watches him sit back on his heels, exhaustion overtaking him. He looks older than she remembers. The lines around his eyes are deeper. His hair has streaks of gray he never used to allow. She did that. The man who once ruled rooms without raising his voice now looks like he can barely hold himself together in silence. Daniel stands slowly, brushing dirt from his trousers. He straightens his coat with habitual precision, grief already being folded away where no one else can see it. Except her. "I'll come back," he says to the grave. "I always do." Alara's chest tightens painfully. He turns and begins walking toward the path that leads out of the cemetery. Straight toward her. Her instincts scream. She steps back carefully, counting each movement. 1 step. 2. The cedar tree no longer hides her completely. She glances around, searching for another exit, another cover. Too late. Daniel stops. Not because he sees her, Because his phone rings. The sound slices through the stillness like a blade. Alara's legs nearly collapse with relief. Daniel answers without looking at the screen. What is it? A pause. His expression changes. Alara knows that look. She's seen it across candlelit dinners and blood-soaked boardrooms. The moment grief shuts down and calculation takes over. Say that again, Daniel says. Another pause. His jaw tightens. Where? He asks. Alara's stomach twists violently. Daniel turns slightly, gaze sweeping the cemetery. Not searching, but assessing. Measuring. I'll handle it, he says and ends the call. For the first time, he looks directly toward the cedar tree. Their eyes almost meet. Almost. Alara steps back just as he turns fully, disappearing behind the trunk. Her heart hammers so loudly she's certain he can hear it. Daniel studies the space for a long moment. Then he walks away. Only when his footsteps fade does Alara sink to the ground. Shaking. Her phone vibrates in her pocket. She doesn't want to look. She already knows what it will say. Slowly, she pulls it out. One message. No sender ID. He's getting closer. Alara closes her eyes. The dead are supposed to stay buried. And she knows, now more than ever, that Daniel Cade is about to dig up the truth. If stories like this pull you in, the secrets, the danger, the love that refuses to stay buried, subscribe now. You won't want to miss what happens next. Alara doesn't return home. She walks instead. Fast, head down, blending into the late afternoon crowd as if she's always belonged there. Her coat is too light for the cold, but she doesn't feel it. Adrenaline keeps her warm. Fear keeps her moving. 2 blocks from the cemetery, she turns sharply into an alley and stops. Her reflection stares back at her from a darkened shop window. Tired eyes. Hair pulled back too tightly. A woman who looks like she's been running for years without ever arriving. She presses her forehead to the glass and exhales. Daniel is getting closer. That message wasn't a warning. It was a countdown. She checks her phone again. No new texts. That's worse. Alara forces herself to move. She takes the bus, then another. She switches routes twice, watching reflections, memorizing faces. When she finally reaches the apartment, dusk has settled over the city. The building is forgettable by design. Concrete. Narrow windows. No sign. No security desk. She unlocks the door quickly and slips inside, locking it behind her with practiced speed. Only then does she let herself shake. She leans against the door, eyes closed, listening. The building hums softly. Someone laughs somewhere above her. Life continues. It shouldn't. Alara crosses the room and opens a drawer beneath the kitchen counter. Inside are 2 passports. Different names. Different countries. Both fake. Both expensive. She touches them, then pulls her hand away. Not yet. Her laptop sits open on the small table. The screen shows a paused video frame. Grainy, dark, unmistakable. A shipping dock at night. Men unloading crates. One of them turns toward the camera briefly. Daniel. Younger. Colder. Still unmistakably him. Alara hits play. The audio crackles. Voices overlap. Orders are given. One word repeats too often to be coincidence. Humanitarian. She stops the video. That was the night everything ended. She had gone looking for proof of financial corruption. That was the lie she told herself. But she had known, deep down, that Daniel's world didn't move millions without blood on its hands. She just hadn't expected to find children. Alara closes the laptop. There are some things the mind refuses to replay. A knock sounds at the door. Sharp. Deliberate. Alara freezes. Another knock. Slower this time. Her pulse spikes violently. She reaches into the drawer and grips the small device taped beneath it. Not a weapon. Something worse. Alara. A voice calls quietly. It's me. She exhales shakily and opens the door just enough to see the woman standing outside. Mara Quinn doesn't smile. She never does. Mara steps inside without waiting for permission, her movements efficient, controlled. She wears a plain coat, hair tucked beneath a hat. To anyone watching, she looks like a social worker or a nurse. She's neither. You were at the cemetery, Mara says. Alara stiffens. You followed me? No. Mara removes her gloves. Daniel did. Alara's throat tightens. He saw me? No, Mara says. But he felt you. That's worse. Mara sets her bag down and looks around the apartment. You stayed too long. He wasn't supposed to come today, Alara snaps. You said. I said it was unlikely. Mara interrupts calmly. Not impossible. Alara turns away, rubbing her arms. He was crying. Mara says nothing. He doesn't cry. Alara continues, voice breaking. I've never seen him cry like that. That doesn't change what he is, Mara replies. Or what happens if he finds you. Alara laughs weakly. He already thinks I'm dead. For now, Mara says. She pulls out her phone and slides it across the table. A photograph fills the screen. Alara stares at it, blood draining from her face. It's her. Taken from across the street. Blurry, but unmistakable. From the cemetery. He hired private eyes, Mara says. Quiet ones. Not his men. People who don't know what they're looking for. Yet. Alara's knees buckle. She grips the table to stay upright. I can leave. No, Mara says immediately. If you run now, he'll notice. He already suspects something isn't right. Alara looks up sharply. You said he believed the story. He did, Mara replies. Until recently. Alara waits. Mara exhales. Someone from his old circle resurfaced. Someone who knew about the shipment you uncovered. Alara's chest tightens painfully. That man is dead. No, Mara says quietly. He disappeared. Same way you did. Alara feels cold all over. He knows someone leaked information, Mara continues. And Daniel doesn't believe in coincidences. Silence stretches between them. Finally, Alara whispers. If he finds out I'm alive, he won't hesitate, Mara finishes. Not because he doesn't love you. Because loving you nearly destroyed him. Alara sinks into the chair. She remembers the night she left. The choice laid bare in front of her. Expose everything and watch Daniel burn with the rest of them, or disappear and let the world keep spinning. She had chosen to disappear. For the children. For herself. And, she tells herself bitterly, for him. Then why am I still here? Alara asks. Why not let him believe the lie forever? Mara studies her carefully. Because someone else knows the truth. Alara looks up slowly. A man named Victor Hale, Mara says. He trained Daniel. Built him. Then tried to destroy him. Alara's heart sinks. Hale doesn't care about you, Mara continues. But he cares about leverage. And you are the last piece he needs. A distant siren wails outside. Alara stares at the floor. So what do we do? Mara doesn't answer immediately. She opens her bag and removes a thin folder, placing it on the table. Inside is a document stamped with an official seal. A death certificate. Alara's name. Plan B, Mara says softly. We make you disappear again. Permanently. Alara's breath catches. You mean? I mean Daniel must never be allowed to see you alive, Mara says. Not even for a second. Alara's vision blurs. Outside, somewhere across the city, Daniel Cade stands in a darkened office, staring at a still image pulled from a surveillance feed. A woman near his wife's grave. Alive. And for the first time in 6 years, he smiles. If this story has pulled you this far into its shadows, like the video now and follow the channel. What comes next changes everything. Daniel Cade doesn't blink as the image freezes on his screen. The woman near the grave is partially obscured, her face turned just enough to avoid clarity. But he doesn't need clarity. He knows the slope of that shoulder, the way she stands when she thinks no one is watching. 6 years vanish in a single breath. Enhance it, he says calmly. The technician hesitates. Sir, the resolution. Enhance it, Daniel repeats. The room obeys. Pixels sharpen. Noise reduces. The woman's profile comes into focus. Alara. Daniel leans back slowly, fingers steepled, heart beating once, hard, then settling into something colder, steadier, alive. Every theory, every doubt, every night he stood at that grave wondering if grief had finally made him weak. It all rearranges itself instantly. He smiles, not with relief, with recognition. Trace her movements, he says. From the moment she entered the cemetery. I want every camera, every reflection, every shadow. Yes, sir. Daniel stands and walks to the window overlooking the harbor. Cargo ships glide through the dark like silent beasts. His world, still intact. Victor Hale was right. Daniel closes his eyes briefly. Not about the betrayal. About the instinct. You don't mourn something that still calls to you. Alara stares at the folder on the table as if it might bite her. Disappear permanently. Mara watches her closely, waiting for resistance. Comes quietly. No, Alara says. Mara's jaw tightens. You don't get to be sentimental now. This isn't sentiment, Alara replies. This is reality. If I vanish again, he won't stop looking. You said it yourself. He's already questioning the lie. Mara exhales sharply. And if you stay, he finds you. And then Victor Hale wins. Alara looks up. Unless I confront it. Silence drops heavily between them. You don't mean, Mara begins. I do, Alara says. Not directly, not recklessly. But I won't keep running in circles while men like Hale decide who lives and who disappears. Mara studies her. You think Daniel will protect you. I think he'll listen, Alara replies. And I think Hale underestimates what that means. Mara shakes her head slowly. You're forgetting who Daniel is. No, Alara says softly. I'm remembering. She remembers the man who built hospitals in secret while laundering money in daylight. The man who held her when she couldn't sleep after her first field mission. The man who promised her truth, then buried it under blood. He is not innocent. But he is not simple. Mara's phone vibrates. She checks it, expression darkening. He's already moving, she says. Private contractors. Facial recognition sweeps. He'll find you within 48 hours. Alara stands. Then we give him something else to find. Victor Hale watches the harbor from his penthouse. Glass of whiskey untouched beside him. Daniel always did hate being lied to, he murmurs. Across from him, a younger man shifts uneasily. If she's alive, sir. This could backfire. Victor smiles thinly. On the contrary, love makes men predictable, especially men who pretend they don't feel it. His phone buzzes. A message appears. She refused Plan B. Victor chuckles softly. Good. Let her believe she has choices. Daniel enters the cemetery again that night. No flowers this time. He stops at the grave and looks down at the stone, eyes sharp, calculating. He kneels not in grief but inspection. His fingers brush the edge of the headstone. Too clean. Someone has been tending it. He stands and turns slowly, scanning the darkness. You're close, he says quietly. I can feel it. From across the path, hidden behind a line of mausoleums, Alara watches him. This time she doesn't flinch. She has chosen this. Her phone vibrates once in her hand. Now, she steps forward. The gravel crunches. Daniel's head snaps up. They see each other fully this time. Time fractures. Alara's breath leaves her in a rush. Daniel doesn't move, doesn't blink. His face drains of color, then hardens as if bracing for impact. Alara, he says. Hearing her name from his mouth feels like being pulled underwater. You're not dead, he continues, voice low. Dangerous. Why? She opens her mouth. Nothing comes out. Footsteps echo behind her. Mara. Too late. Daniel's gaze flicks past Alara, registering the movement instantly. His men emerge from the shadows on instinct, weapons drawn but not raised. Mara freezes. Victor Hale's voice cuts through the night from the far end of the path. Touching reunion. Alara turns slowly. Hale steps into the light, smiling like a man who has already won. Daniel straightens, fury coiling beneath his skin. You should be dead. So should she, Hale replies pleasantly. Yet here we all are. Alara feels the trap snap shut. Hale gestures casually. Now you know the truth, Daniel. The question is, what will you do with it? Daniel looks at Alara, not with anger, with devastation. And in that moment, Alara understands something terrifying. Daniel won't choose between love and power. He'll choose both, and someone will die for it. The night feels heavier the moment Victor Hale steps fully into view. Daniel Cade doesn't look at him at first. His eyes stay on Alara, as if acknowledging anyone else would dilute the moment. You're alive, Daniel says quietly. Say it. Alara swallows. I am. The words don't echo. They sink. Daniel's breath leaves him slowly, carefully, like a man defusing something volatile inside his chest. His face shifts. Relief, disbelief, anger, grief. Too many emotions crossing too fast to name. You let me bury you, he says. I let you survive, Alara replies. Victor Hale chuckles. This is the part where truth becomes inconvenient. Daniel finally turns. You trained me to recognize threats, Daniel says evenly. You just forgot one thing. Hale raises an eyebrow. And what's that? I outgrew you. Hale smiles unfazed. You outgrew loyalty, not instinct. And your instinct is still control. He gestures toward Alara. She's leverage. Always was. Daniel doesn't deny it. Instead, he steps away from Alara. The movement is subtle but final. Alara's heart tightens. You see, Hale says softly. Predictable. Daniel lifts his gaze. You misunderstand. Hale tilts his head. I didn't step away from her, Daniel continues. I stepped away from your rules. A shot cracks through the night. Victor Hale stiffens, disbelief spreading across his face as blood blooms across his chest. He turns slowly, too slowly, to see Mara standing behind him, gun still raised, hands shaking. I warned you, she says. Hale collapses into the gravel without another word. Silence follows. Deep, unforgiving. Daniel closes his eyes once. When he opens them, the past is finished. Mara exhales sharply. We need to move. He had contingencies. Daniel nods, then turns to Alara. Up close, the distance between them feels unbearable. 6 years reduced to inches. You should have told me, he says. You would have stopped me, she replies. Or died trying. Daniel doesn't argue. You chose silence over blood, he says. I chose blood over silence. Alara meets his eyes. And look where it led us. They stand there, not touching. I can protect you, Daniel says finally. I don't want protection, Alara replies. I want truth, even if it costs. Daniel studies her. It will. I know. Mara clears her throat. Extraction window is closing. Alara nods. Daniel watches her turn away. Alara. She pauses. If you walk away now, he says, you leave everything unresolved. She looks back. Some things don't need resolution. They need endings. She walks past him. Daniel does not stop her. Later, Daniel stands alone at the grave. Not kneeling. Not crying. Thinking. For the first time in years, the silence doesn't feel empty. Feels honest. He places his hand briefly on the stone, then turns and walks away. The lie is buried. The truth remains. And the cost has finally been paid. Before we go any further, subscribe and follow now. Stories like this don't end cleanly, and what comes next decides who controls the truth. The city does not notice when Victor Hale disappears. That is how power works. When it collapses quietly, only those standing closest to it feel the tremor. Daniel Cade feels it immediately. By morning, 3 bank accounts freeze without explanation. 2 shipping permits vanish from public record. A long-standing ally stops answering calls. The silence isn't random. It's coordinated. Hale's contingencies are waking up. Daniel stands in his office overlooking the harbor, jacket off, sleeves rolled, coffee untouched. Screens glow in the dim light, data flowing faster than most men could process. They're testing us. One of his lieutenants says carefully, not attacking, watching. Daniel nods. They want to see if I panic. And if you do? I won't, Daniel replies. But he feels it, the subtle shift. Hale may be dead, but the system he built was designed to survive him. And now it's adjusting to Daniel's move. Across the city, Alara sits in the back of an unmarked vehicle, watching rain smear the windows into distortion. Mara drives without speaking. You should have left the country, Mara finally says. So should he, Alara replies. Mara glances at her. You think Daniel let you go because he changed? No, Alara says quietly. He let me go because he's changing. Mara doesn't look convinced. They stop beneath an overpass. Another car waits. This is where we split, Mara says. New identity, new route. After this, you don't exist to me. Alara nods. Thank you. Mara hesitates. You know he won't stop. Alara opens the door. I know. Daniel receives the report just after noon. A junior analyst places the tablet down, hands trembling slightly. We intercepted communications tied to Hale's offshore network. They're consolidating. Where? Daniel asks. Everywhere, the analyst replies. They're afraid of you. Daniel almost smiles. Fear creates order temporarily. Prepare the counter, Daniel says. Quietly. Yes, sir. Daniel turns back to the window. Ships move like pieces on a board. His board. And yet, for the first time, the center is missing. Alara. She doesn't belong to his world anymore. And that is precisely what makes her dangerous, to him and to everyone watching. 2 days later, Daniel's phone rings from an encrypted line he hasn't heard from in years. He answers without speaking. You killed Hale, the voice says. I corrected a mistake, Daniel replies. A pause. Then, you disrupted a balance. Daniel exhales slowly. Balance built on children and silence isn't balance. The voice hardens. You've become emotional. Daniel's eyes flicker. I've become precise. The call ends. Daniel knows what comes next. War, not loud, not public, but surgical. Assets, reputation, influence. And somewhere inside that storm, Alara exists as both shield and vulnerability. That night, Alara watches the news from a dim apartment she doesn't recognize. A headline scrolls across the screen. Global shipping giant under investigation. Her chest tightens. She reaches for her phone, stops herself, then turns it off entirely. This was the cost. She stands, pacing. She didn't leave to be safe. She left to be free. But freedom doesn't erase consequences. It invites them. Her laptop pings. One message. Unknown sender. He's moving faster than expected. Alara closes her eyes. So am I, she thinks. Back at the harbor, Daniel watches containers being unloaded under tight security. His world still moves, but the rhythm is different. Mara steps beside him quietly. She's off-grid. For now, Daniel says. You could bring her back, Mara says. End this uncertainty. Daniel turns to her. If I do that, I own her again. Mara studies him. And if you don't? Then someone else will try. A distant explosion echoes, not close, but close enough. Daniel's phone buzzes immediately. Attempt on Dock 7. A voice reports. No casualties. Message only. Daniel nods once. Understood. He looks out at the water, jaw tightening. Hale's shadow is gone, but the darkness it created remains. Across the city, Alara packs a single bag. She pauses, staring at her reflection. Running didn't save her. Hiding didn't save him. Only truth remains, and truth always attracts violence. Her phone vibrates again. Another message. This one shorter. They know who you are. Alara's breath catches. She types slowly. Then I stop being a secret. She sends it. And for the first time since she disappeared, Alara steps fully into the light. If you want to see what happens when power and truth finally collide, subscribe and follow now. And here's the question that matters. when silence protects the world, but truth burns it down. Who decides which one survives? Because the next move belongs to Alara, and Daniel Cade may not be able to stop it.